Where does Jim Harbaugh go next? I know there's a lot of potential answers. Maybe he builds the next dynasty at Michigan, exceeding Nick Saban's rings, winning the next 5, 6 titles with a combination of brawn and brains unparalleled in college football. Or maybe he goes to the NFL and coaches a young, promising quarterback talent. I'm just pulling one out of the air, Justin Herbert, for example, to a Super Bowl and professional greatness, putting a capstone on his career very few others have managed to do by winning both a college national title and an NFL championship. I think there's a lot of different directions and a lot of different answers, but the only way we can look forward and truly know where we're going when it comes to Jim Harbaugh is to look at the man himself, a competitive animal so intense that his motto, his entire being comes down to 3 words: I must win. Let's start with the actual football. How does this man believe you win games? How does this man actually build football success? First of all, I want to go ahead and say that Jim Harbaugh, as a quarterback, is a person who will completely ignore the quarterback when building a team. By that, I don't mean he's going to go ahead and give you a team without a quarterback, ignore it, and just run the ball. But you're going to get offensive and defensive linemen first. Did it at Stanford, did it in the NFL, and 100% did it at Michigan, where among the first fixes to the program he made were making sure that along both lines, they were going to be burly, dominant, aggressive, and above all else, run the ball. This is not a very 2024 idea when it comes to what we think of a football today as this sort of spread out game of pass first, run later. No. This is very 1988. A lot of things about Jim Harbaugh are very 1988, from the focus on the run game, from his taste in clothing, which has gotten marginally better since everyone caught him buying cheap khakis at Walmart when he was coach of the 49ers. And his own experiences. This is a guy who came up in the 80s playing very old school football after playing very old school football as a quarterback at, yes, his alma mater, Michigan. He is a direct descendant of the Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes school of run first, run later, and then maybe pass second. An odd fit for a quarterback, yes, but not for a coach who's trying to swim somewhat against the tide of college football and get his alma mater back to dominance. They may not be the most flawless team in terms of execution. They don't really have to be. This is a team that, like their coach, will punch you in the nose. I am not making that up, and you do not have to make anything up with Jim Harbaugh. It is all real, and none of it is affect. By that, I mean this. He has literally punched someone in the nose for questioning his toughness. Was this person a former NFL player? Yeah, it was Jim Kelly who questioned Jim Harbaugh and his toughness on a radio show in Buffalo, causing Harbaugh to storm a production meeting and introduce his fist to Jim Kelly's face. It's not an act. None of this is made up. Not even his love of Judge Judy, a show that he did appear on with his father, Jack, who, yes, also a football coach. His brother, yeah, you also may have heard of him, also a football coach. And his brother-in-law, who is not a football coach. He's a basketball coach. That's Tom Crean, former Indiana and Georgia basketball coach, who is his brother-in-law. So you have to be a coach to marry into this family, basically. And if you don't win a title, they make you sit at the kids' table. That part, I think Harbaugh was joking about, maybe? Jim Harbaugh may be the most competitive man alive. And I mean about everything. Jim Harbaugh will slam his fist into an overhead projector.
I must win!
And completely destroy it in front of a crowd of high school coaches in San Diego before he's ever really won anything at a major program. There's footage and everything. Go take a look at it, okay? Because above all else, and he said it himself in his words, I must win. I must win. It is astonishing that Michigan had the patience over 9 years to stick with this guy through thick and thin, through a long period on the way up when Harbaugh would finish third in the Big Ten East with some of the best players and some of the best stats possible, but still not crack through to even playing in a championship game due to losing to Ohio State. It was a long series of failures. Failure is an important element in this story to figure out who this guy is and what makes him tick, because he didn't lose one game to Ohio State. He lost 5 in a row. 5 in a row in the one rivalry that will break the brain of the other in this contest. The game you can't afford to lose. Lost it 5 times. Determination. He's not short on it. Once they got to the playoff, they were humiliated by Georgia. And then the following year, knocked out in a stunner versus TCU, where they seemed completely unprepared for the challenge that the Horned Frogs provided. And yet, he persisted. It did, in fact, take 9 years for Jim Harbaugh to do that. And what now? It's inarguable that Jim Harbaugh has done everything that he was supposed to do at Michigan. It took almost a decade, but they got there. Restored them to the mountaintop, got them their first outright title this millennium, and I would argue their first real title after World War II. You can say what you like about the Connor Stallion scandal, but once you play the game, that's done. You can't unbuy the roller coaster ride. You can't take away the memory, even if you could wipe it off the NCAA record books, if that even happens. If Harbaugh stays at Michigan, even with all of the changes in the Big Ten, I think you've seen this is a rugged team built for long-term success. Michigan has the most important elements necessary for long-term success. One, lunatic commitment to the sport despite being an elite academic institution. Two, everyone cares a lot on the fan side. Three, you have money, a lot of money. And I think Michigan, with the way that they are built, can stay competitive in the Big Ten for a long time. Because remember, in football, fashions come and go, but brute force and good tackling never goes out of style. The situation for Harbaugh at Michigan, ideal. Could dictate his terms, can get what he wants, could build a bowling alley and a museum if he wanted to. That may or may not be a thing he actually wanted to do on campus with the athletic department's money. Could probably get that now. But in the NFL, there's prospects too, and good ones at that. Not only is the competitive market around Harbaugh an ideal one for him, 3 old school coaches on the market, Vrabel, Belichick, and himself. With Harbaugh, I think having the most obvious upside in terms of age, approach, results, and motivation. But good spots to land too. You could do a complete rebuild at Washington if you wanted to. You could land somewhere in the middle when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. If he goes to the Raiders, guess who he gets to draft? His dude, J.J. McCarthy. In his words, the best quarterback to ever play for the program. That includes Tom Brady and Jim Harbaugh. Or the Chargers, where if he decides to take things to LA, one of his neighbors is going to be Justin Herbert, a talented young quarterback with answers that I know Jim Harbaugh believes he has. We have Jim Harbaugh at a crossroads here. At his press conference following the national title game, Jim Harbaugh said that at his funeral, he would like to be remembered simply as a Michigan man. That would be enough. It is obvious, especially because after 9 years, this is his longest tenure anywhere, that he genuinely loves this program and views it more than I think anywhere else, by the numbers, by evidence, as his home. However, we are talking about a competitive man, a face-punching man, a man who more than anything else must win. And the thing that he has not done, now that he has collected a national title as a college coach, he has not collected one as an NFL coach. He has come so close, and maybe that makes the decision even easier for him should he receive an offer from a willing NFL team with deep pockets. And those pockets will have to be deep given some of the numbers thrown around contractually by Michigan in terms of keeping and extending the man who finally got them a national title. But he wants it. Make no mistake, he wants it. Came so close with the 49ers, won double-digit games in his first 3 seasons before a contentious 8-8 season and getting on the outs with 49ers management. A man who is a sure win at any level. We really haven't seen this kind of coaching odyssey since the days of Jimmy Johnson, a guy who sort of speed ran Harbaugh's whole entire career arc by being a high school coach, by winning in college, and then by winning in the pros. Harbaugh is the closest modern heir to that tradition of a guy who has coached at every single level. Before he coached at Stanford, he was at UCSD and won there and did well there, then went to the Pac-12, then went to the NFL, then came back, and now I think sits poised to be competitive at the highest level again and get that thing that he does not have, that the guy across from him at the Thanksgiving dinner table has. The man, John Harbaugh, who has championships in the NFL. He's got them. And Jim doesn't. And I know you can be happy for your brother. But when they hugged on the sidelines at the national title, and I saw John and Jim together, it was very hard for my little hater brain to not hear John in Jim's ear going, I've won games in the stadium too. I know he's thinking that. And I know he's competitive. And I know he loves Michigan. But that man must win. And before the clock runs out and he gets too old to really make a run in the NFL, I think it's what he's going to end up doing.